All right. If you wonder what happened, for some reason, my microphone stopped working, folks. Well, that's life, I guess. Good morning to you. Welcome to Hour 2 of the Art Lewis Show, brought to you by Westside Decorating Center, 5789 State Street in Saginaw. Everything you need for home decorating, you'll find at Westside Decorating Center. Later on, open phones, but we're going to start this hour talking about our friends in the wonderful community of Frankenmuth, Michigan. And with us is the city manager. We say good morning to Bridget Smith. Bridget, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Thanks for joining us as always. Let's just start with, 'tis the season now. We're close to Thanksgiving. Won't be that long. Halloween first, and then we're into the Christmas season. In many communities, I'd say, well, when do you start thinking about Christmas? In Frankenmuth, when do you stop thinking about Christmas?
Only for, I would say, during planting season downtown, so that's like May.
Yeah. So do you start decorating for Christmas pretty soon, though?
Yeah, actually, we'll start this week.
Really? Now,
yeah.
What does that entail? How do you get this Christmas town ready for Christmas?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. So right now, our green space crews are removing the vegetation, downtown. Some of them are annuals, but some of them are actually tropical bulbs that we dig up and store over the winter, and then we'll actually start growing them again in March in a greenhouse. So they're doing a lot of cleanup now. And then the Downtown Development Authority actually bid a contract for Christmas installation this year, and Garpeel and Shine will be doing the Christmas installation.
And what role do the what role do the businesses have in Frankenmuth? I mean, I would have to believe Bronner's takes part in this somehow.
Yeah, so the City Beautification Committee is an organization of the city, but they fundraise. And so the vast majority of our businesses participate in terms of donations. And then, of course, the businesses themselves dress up for Christmas. And after, during COVID, we really struggled with the crowds because Christmas was very concentrated. And the Frankenmuth Convention and Visitors Bureau and Chamber of Commerce developed a plan to spread Christmas out around town. So you're not just gathering, near the Cass River, that there are locations all up and down the street so people can kind of spread out and move. And that's worked out really well.
So let me ask about tourism, because obviously Frankenmuth is a tourist town. It's the number one attraction in the state. Has tourism returned to pre-pandemic numbers?
I think so, and I think if you spoke with the folks at the Visitors Bureau, they would say the same thing. This is from now until Christmas pretty much is very busy.
What does, we have a town like Frankenmuth, your live-in population's what, about 6,000, something like that?
5,000.
5,000? What does it mean to a community's budget to be a tourist town and have millions of people visit in a year?
I would say it's good and bad. We afford some things that other communities would not be able to. Like, we have a fantastic spray park that was funded through different grants and business donations. And it's because we have such large family-owned businesses that we're able to do a lot of those things. Traffic is always a constant topic of conversation, and among residents, but also among, city, Convention and Visitors Bureau, Chamber. How can we safely move people and not just in cars? How can we safely move pedestrians? So we're constantly trying to talk about those things. And from a residential perspective, living in Frankenmuth is wonderful, but it sometimes is difficult to get to Kroger because there are so many vehicles on the road.
Yeah.
Trying to find that balance.
We talk about traffic. I can remember a number of years ago there was an experiment to put in a turn lane on the main drag. That kind of went away. So what's the latest thinking on how to move traffic in Frankenmuth?
Well, I think we're looking at what I call multimodal. So it's not just automobiles, but there's a program right now for a free shuttle. So for no cost to the riders, they can move up and down Main Street and down Weiss Street, the dense commercial districts of the city. We're trying to encourage people to park once, preferably on the outskirts of town, hop the shuttle, and ride for free all day. We think that's a benefit not only to the visitors but to the residents. And we're also looking at ways to make pedestrian movement easier and biking. Biking is difficult with Main Street just because of the traffic volume, but we have a number of bike lanes throughout town and trying to get people used to alternatives.
If to use the shuttle and you want people to park on the outskirts of town, will you have to then consider building parking lots just for the shuttle, like you'd have a shuttle parking lot at the north end and one at the south end where people can park and then ride the shuttle?
Yep, potentially. Those are some ongoing conversations. Parking is always an ongoing conversation. We're also trying to make better use of the facilities we do own. So in the summer, Heritage Park is usually pretty busy, but in the winter, not so much. So can we kind of dual use some of our properties as well?
What does the attraction of 3 million people a year, roughly, what pressure does that put on your public service budget for infrastructure and things of that nature?
We were fortunate that the biggest the biggest bottleneck potentially for a city of 5,000 welcoming 3 million guests would be a waste treatment facility. But the silver lining was in the 1980s, we overbuilt a waste treatment plant to accommodate a brewery that then left.
That's right.
So that extra capacity has really allowed the city to sustain this growth. Without it, I think it would have been a much bigger issue.
All right, Bridget, hang on. I want to take a break. We'll do one more segment. We're talking to Bridget Smith, the city manager of Frankenmuth, and we'll be back with more after these notes. All right, we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show, talking to Bridget Smith from Frankenmuth. And Bridget, let's talk about some of the other things around Frankenmuth right now. And, of course, housing is always a big issue everywhere. But Frankenmuth, it's unique, isn't it? I mean, you really don't have that many properties for sale. And when you do, they sell pretty fast, don't they?
Yes, they do.
That's a big plus for a community like Frankenmuth, isn't it? A plus and a negative.
Yeah, and we've had to take some, I think I'd like to consider them proactive steps to protecting our residential market because we welcome 3 million people a year to town. There's a lot of interest in converting single-family homes to short-term rentals. And so we started working about 4 or 5 years ago on kind of a comprehensive ordinance that permits them, but not in neighborhoods. So it permits them in areas where the properties around homes are zoned commercial. So we're trying to protect what housing stock we have.
Do you visit other tourist communities to see how they handle the influx of tourism?
Yes, actually, it's one of the things that pretty much everybody who works for the city, anytime they're at another festival or traveling or camping, will get pictures of how one community is handling traffic or, these super cool trash cans. We live very dynamic, exciting lives when we share all this information with each other. But yeah, we look to those peer communities to see what they're doing different and better than us, and if there's some way we can learn from them.
And let's talk about, is there a DDA in Frankenmuth, so to speak?
There is. Yep. It was established in the 1990s, and they now help. They're the reason downtown looks the way it does. They're responsible for planting and maintaining everything along Main Street.
The things we don't see, the infrastructure, water, sewers, and all of that, what kind of shape is Frankenmuth in? Many communities in the state are crying because they haven't done much over the decades and infrastructure's failing. How's Frankenmuth doing?
We're sitting pretty good. We are looking, we just talked about the waste treatment plant. We're looking at a big upgrade, not because we don't have capacity, but because there are differing standards now at the state level that we have to meet within 5 years. So we're starting that process. Water, we have a very aggressive water line replacement program. We're also very fortunate in that we don't have any lead service lines. So while a number of communities are struggling not only to maintain their existing infrastructure and replace it like normal, but struggling with lead replacement, we don't have that problem.
And of course, since the state is mandating these new requirements, they will of course be paying for all of it.
If you find out how, let me know.
It is so true. I mean, the state, at one time, if they were going to mandate, they had to pay for it. And that went away a long time ago, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, how do you raise the funds to do that? I mean, in your budgeting process, do you see that coming? Do you put money aside for that upgrade?
Yes. So the water and sewer in the city, like almost every other community that I know of, is funded on user rate. So we just went through a process where we reclassified some businesses that were getting residential rates, even though they were commercial. So we sent out letters to those businesses and explained what a residential equivalent was and why they don't meet it. So we look at different ways for rate revenue. The city also tries to increase its rates annually, a smaller percentage, rather than wait 2 or 3 years and then have to look at a 10% rate increase.
Last question. This is probably better addressed to the individual businesses, but how are all the Frankenmuth businesses doing attracting labor?
I think pretty good. I mean, I can only speak from the city perspective. Like, we had a really good run of attracting young retirees who were great at, doing kind of odd job public labor sort of work. And that pool is just not there. And in a tourist town, we're competing, with summer seasonal help. Mm-hmm. And candidly, you can make much more money working downtown than you can mowing the lawn for the city. So that's always a struggle. But I know we've had some changes in terms of hours downtown, with some businesses opening longer later. So I think that's a good sign.
Well, listen, Bridget, it's always fun to talk to you and see what's happening in this great gem in Saginaw County. And we'll do it again.
All right. Excellent. I always enjoy it.
All right. Have yourself a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye now. Bridget Smith, she is the city manager of Frankenmuth, and we thank her for joining us. We will take a break of open phones for the remainder of the hour. 989-752-6111, the number to call and join in the conversation.
Attention homeowners, Storm Master.
Welcome back. Open phones for the remainder of the hour, and we're going to begin with Jean in Bay City. Jean, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm going to talk about a real serious subject. They've been doing a lot of studies on young children and mental illness.
Yep.
And I'm hoping maybe you could find someone that is up to date and that a psychiatrist or psychologist that could come on and talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
What I've been reading is that people that are very strict, very controlling, and spank their children over minor things are really causing a lot of damage to their children. In fact, from fear and stress, too much stress, their body releases hormones, stress hormones, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, hypothalamus, something like that. Anyway, this medical term of a section of the brain that being over-controlling and too much of a disciplinarian can actually cause brain damage.
Yeah, and the other side of it is not being good enough at a parent and allowing your child to get away with anything.
Absolutely
and they don't learn
right.
They don't learn right and wrong.
You know, when children are young, a swat on the bottom, in between a diaper and all their other clothes, they don't even hardly feel it. It's more making them afraid that they're going to get disciplined than actually hitting them.
Yeah. But, and again, I believe that a swat every now and then is beneficial, but it has to be used judiciously.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Well, anyway, when children that have been overly disciplined, when they become adults, they push those memories way, way, way back into their subconscious, and because it's painful, they just sort of displacement of it and denial of it.
I've read another side of that, and the other side of that is that's how they were brought up, and that's how they're going to bring up their children.
And that's why we need to get more people that are really knowledgeable, like on your program, to talk about it so it doesn't continue. But that is part of the reason, like, some of these people that call your show that are so angry, so just full of hate and just are miserable, it seems like, with themselves. A lot of that is from the displacement of being raised way too strictly and having too much discipline as a child, that it shows up in their adult life as displaced anger. And
well, I'm not a psychologist, so I can't.
Well, me either. And for just an old lady trying to explain what I'm reading and hearing, it's hard for me because I'm not educated in any of these things either. That's why I would hope you'd get an expert on.
All right.
But that with a lot of these politicians, that is part of the problem. It comes way, way back from their childhood, why they want to control everybody and discipline everybody and punish people.
Well,
it's because of what happened to them as children.
We're all products of our upbringing, every one of us, not only of our upbringing, but where we were born and the kind of lifestyle we had as a child forms our adult image, if you will. And that's been true forever, and it isn't going to change.
Well, what I have read is if people people that are overly angry and really in pain because they're unhappy because they're angry all the time, they can change.
Oh, yeah.
If they realize that is coming from their past, if they could go way back into their past and realize that a lot of that vengeful feeling, wanting to be vengeful and angry at everybody, that comes from their childhood. Yep. If they understand that, then they can change.
Yeah, that takes help, and that's where they need to get the help. So, but we'll take that under consideration.
Thank you for listening.
You
and
bet.
Like I say,
all right.
I'm not an expert and I'm not good at explaining these things, but I hope you can get somebody on the show
Gene.
that can. Thank you for listening.
You bet. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
And we'll go to Midland, talk to Mark this morning. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Art. How are you, sir?
Good.
Hey, I was driving through Bay City early in the morning, and I see the new bridges, and they have colorful lights underneath there. Nice to look at, LED lights. I don't know if you caught that or not. But when driving, they have also seatbelt initiatives to save lives. You know, you're supposed to click it or ticket. So I was thinking, when you go through an intersection, wouldn't it be great if the street light pole lit up the color? Like if it was red, the whole pole LED lit up red. If it was green, the whole LED pole would light up green.
Get your attention. Yeah, get your attention. It sure would.
What's that?
It sure would, but here's the issue.
Okay.
Most of the intersection accidents are caused by people trying to beat the light. Trying to beat the yellow before it turns red. They enter the intersection, the other cars start up, and before you know it, you got an intersection collision. You know, it'd be nice to have the poles light up. The problem is, if you had yellow light up yellow, it would just speed people up to try and buzz through it like they do now. And it's a real problem.
If you just keep it red and green and not even put the option yellow.
Well, that possibility. The yellow is supposed to warn you to slow down because the light's going to change.
Right, clear
Instead, it does just the opposite.
Right. Yeah, I saw that on Facebook in another country where they the light posts light up.
That'd be interesting.
For their traffic stops.
I'd like to see it. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah. All righty, sir.
Hey, good, Mark. Thanks, buddy. Take care. Bye-bye now. Bye. All right, 10:46. We'll take a break. Come back. More calls. 989-752-6111.
This is Mike from Westside Decorating.
All right, we're back with you here on WSGW, the Art Lewis Show, and back to our phones. We have Mark in Bay City. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. So, without getting political and just asking a question, there's 3 methods that you can do when you receive your early ballot. So I got my ballot early, and I got my ballot. Which method do you think is the most secure? Dropping it in the mailbox, dropping it in the box, or delivering it on Election Day?
I'll tell you what I did. I took it down to the clerk and handed it to her.
Oh.
I think that's the most secure because it never leaves your possession until it gets into her possession. I like that the best. Next, I would say a drop box outside of your community office, and then the mail third. That would be my pecking order.
But never, what about on Election Day? So they got it where you can drop it off on Election Day. Would it be better in advance or in Election Day, in your opinion?
It doesn't matter as long as you get it in a timely fashion.
Okay.
That's the key. I mean, you have to get it in there when they say you have to have it in. Election day is probably a busy time for the clerks, so I would try and get it in ahead of Election Day by a day or so. But if you can't do it, then the drop box or the clerk would be the best way. Obviously, mail would be too late anyway.
And so, do you think that there's a lot of fraud in this?
A lot? No. Some, yeah, always is.
Always is.
But not. I don't believe. This is my personal opinion now. I don't believe that the fraud is sufficient enough to change an election. there are, I mean, if you're in a township and there's a close vote by 1 or 2 votes, yeah, it's possible. But on a national election, no, I don't believe there's enough fraud for that.
Well, thank you for your help.
You
have
bet.
a good day.
Thanks. Take care, Mark. And here is Gary in Saginaw. Gary, good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to go pretty fast. I know we're past the vice presidential debate, but I think both candidates did professionally well.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'd like to talk about. There's another lady, a lady. She's going to prison for drunk driving. And my rule is, if I start driving again, I won't even have one beer before I get in the car. You're best off just have coffee or tea, because both these people in the 70s are going to prison, and it's sad for the people that got killed and sad for them. On the voting, you gave me another option. I did mail my ballot in, but maybe I could get somebody to drive me by, the township office and drop it in, or one of the votes. In any case, I want everybody to vote Chicago style. You know what that is?
No.
Okay. I know if you're ready for this. Early and often.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say from the dead list, but that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Bye-bye now. You think about it historically when we talk about election fraud and all of that. Growing up for years and years and years, we used to hear about it in Chicago, how many dead people voted and all of that. So it's nothing new. But because of recent, issues which we're all familiar with, it's come to the forefront, and it's now national as a problem. But Chicago has always had that reputation, early and often and dead. So it's, I don't know, when I say that, there's always somebody trying to skirt the law and get extra votes in and things like that. That's unfortunately negative human behavior. And I don't know how you stop it except to be really diligent about who votes, how you certify that they're the proper voter, things of that nature. It's important that the elections have merit and validity, and we don't go through this nonsense of this one did that, and this one did that. I just believe that we need to pay attention up front and have rules and regulations that make sense, that protect us from fraud. And that's up to the clerks and it's up to the secretaries of state to make sure that rules are in place. And I don't care whether you're a blue state or a red state. The rules ought to be fairly consistent so that everyone knows what the rules are. Every state has the right to set up their own rules and how far in advance you can vote and how you get ballots and all of that. But within those rules, there has to be some security. Just has to be. Because it's only in the last, maybe since 2000, that our elections have come into question, which they never did before. All right, take our last break, come back and close out this hour of the Art Lewis Show, tell you what's ahead on Focus.
Do you know that air duct cleaning is...
Just time enough, though, to thank you for joining us today. Coming up on Focus, it's that time of year we're going to learn about Rotten Manor in Holly. Get your Halloween off to a good start. But before that, of course, we have news from CBS, The World, and The Nation. Michael Purchase in the WSGW newsroom to update you on the region and the state. And then we'll be back. I'm Art Lewis. Thanks for being with us on the Art Lewis Show. More ahead.
Broadcasting from the